Hello, this is Victoria Pendragon. Welcome to my alternate reality, and I would like to talk a little bit today about working with your body to make some physical things more comfortable. In this instance, I'm talking about using the mind to, in a sense, direct the body to do some things that it can do but may not be doing because of one thing or another. The first incident I'd like to cover is that of swallowing pills. Some people, like myself, don't swallow pills very well. I don't know why that is exactly. There's some reluctance to, well, perhaps it's not really like food. I don't have any trouble swallowing food at all. But a pill is really a kind of a hard thing that the body, a more sensitive body, perhaps may reject as saying, this thing isn't food. And really, they're not. Especially large pills. And then, of course, if you don't swallow them on the second or third time, they start dissolving. It's really very unpleasant. But what I discovered, and only this year, like you've heard me say before, slow, slow, slow. Not stupid, but slow. This year, I discovered that if, as I took the pill and placed it on my tongue, I imagined that it were, well, not that it were, but that my throat were opening in a shape that was a little larger than the pill, but the same shape as the pill. And then I sort of pictured a submarine going underneath the water at the same time. But the most important thing was imagining this large pill-shaped opening in my throat. And then taking, because I usually take them with juice, because it makes it, sort of grabs the pill a little bit. And I have found that pill taking is now totally easy. My throat just opened right up when I pretended that it opened right up. It brings to mind when I was first in the hospital for my first experimental treatment for scleroderma back in the 80s. And they had to put a needle in my vein, the vein of my arms, right here. And the needle itself was, as the doctor described, about the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen. So not small. And of course my skin was like leather. So the whole process was not going well. By the point when it had been about an hour and they still hadn't been able to get the needle in my arm. Enough to hurt, but not enough to get the needle in. I had a phone call. And I thought, and they were like, oh, take the phone call, you know, everything is such a mess here. And I took the phone call, and it was an old friend of mine, a guy I had once gone out with, and I told him, you know, I said, I really can't concentrate too much on our conversation. I told him what was going on, and he said, well, you're usually pretty good about just letting things in. He said, why don't you just imagine that, you know, you're just opening up to somebody sexually? And I said, I could try that. Thanked him very much, got off the phone, needle was in about 2 seconds. The mind is a very useful tool to have. So, what was the other thing? Oh yes, in yoga, it can be useful in a similar fashion. Standing poses and balance are often difficult for people. And what I have discovered is that if I am standing in, say, tree pose, where you're on, let's say I'm on my right foot, and I'm going to bring the left foot up to about the level of my thigh. So I'm standing on my right foot. The arms go over the head, much like this. But if in the beginning, when I first tried yoga, if I had difficulty, tilting because I was on one leg, I would imagine that the hand on the opposite side was holding a weight. And I would feel that weight, and it would balance out the body, and I would be able to stand. Of course, eventually, the body got used to it, and I didn't need the weight anymore. But there was no weight. There was no weight. It's just my mind. The mind is very good at creating imaginary scenarios. You know this. We do it all the time. We do it to ourselves. Our minds can drive us crazy by creating imaginary scenarios. But it can also, used as a tool, be very, very helpful. That pill swallowing thing, I only wish I thought of it decades ago. It's awesome. And pretty much anything you have difficulty with, if you can construct something mental that might help you balance it out, help make it happen, if you can imagine something that will help you, think about that. Think about what's happening. If my body's not taking something in, think about opening up. My body's going off balance this way. Think about something balancing you on the other side. If you have pain in places sometimes, you can imagine, in a sense, that you're lifted off that pain, that you're more pressing on the other side. Let's say you have a pain in your hip, in your right hip. You might imagine that you're putting a little more pressure on the left leg, and it'll take some pressure off that right hip. It may not be a thing you can do consistently, because you may, in fact, actually be putting more pressure on that and eventually throw yourself off balance. But it'll get you in a pinch through something. So when you're just feeling physically uncomfortable and something needs to be done, regardless of your discomfort, use your mind as the very helpful tool that it is, and provide your body with some guidance. The body is always open to guidance. Well, you know that if you've ever had an operation or something where they'll tell you, just relax, and they say it in that kind of slow voice, and you actually do. You begin to relax. That's the mind taking control of the body. Remember that that gift is there for you. All you need to do is use it. It takes a little imagination, but everybody's got plenty of that. Plenty of that. I used to think I didn't have an imagination. Turns out I was wrong. So, use your imagination to help yourself. A well-trained mind is about the best gift you can give yourself. Take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye.